Imagine a device small enough to fit in your palm, yet powerful enough to turn an ordinary semi-automatic rifle into a weapon that can unload 30 rounds in just 4 seconds. For decades, laws kept that kind of firepower off American streets. But in a stunning twist, a new Justice Department settlement has opened the door, at least part-way, for these devices to make a comeback. Supporters call it a victory for the Second Amendment. Critics warn it's a step toward legalizing machine guns. The truth, though, is far more complicated and far more explosive.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General, when you took over the Department of Justice and started going through all of the grants under your predecessor, did you find any that, in your opinion, constituted a waste of taxpayer money?
Yes, Senator. I don't have those specifically in front of me, but yes, Senator, there were many, and we are now going through those grants one by one. We are going through each of those grants because at the Department of Justice, we have a very obviously unique function in public safety. I will never let a grant be cut that's hurting women, victims of sexual assault, children, law enforcement officers. So we will look at those, each grant individually, to see what is fluff, what is DEI, no longer at the Department of Justice, and what are viable grants. And that money will go where it should go, to protect victims of crime and our law enforcement officers.
That's your job, isn't it?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. And you're doing that because it's your job.
Yes,
right?
Senator.
Okay. Some people say that you're being overly mean and unfair to foreign nationals who are in our country illegally. Would you care to address that?
I don't think I've been called mean recently, but
Oh, you've been called worse.
I think I was going to say probably a lot worse.
Yeah.
We will do everything in our power to get the illegal aliens out of our country who are committing crimes in our country. I have met with way too many family members who are parents, mothers, whose children have been murdered and raped by illegal aliens in our country. If that's mean, then I want to be as mean as I can be.
Well, I mean,
because we're going to get them out of our country and we're going to protect Americans.
We can agree, can we not, that legal immigration is legal,
Absolutely.
okay? And we can agree, can we not, that illegal immigration is illegal,
Yes, Senator.
okay? If you don't like the statutes with respect to illegal immigration, you can change them. But if you enforce them, as Congress has directed you to do, you're not being mean, you're just doing your job, aren't you?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. When you prosecute someone who's in our country illegally, not necessarily for a criminal matter, but just to enforce our immigration laws, are you careful to afford them due process?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. And would you consider that to be one of your priorities in terms of enforcing the laws against illegal foreign nationals?
Yes, Senator. I've been in a courtroom my entire career, and due process will be afforded.
Okay.
And the laws of this country will be enforced.
Could it be that some of the people who are criticizing you simply think that illegal immigration shouldn't be illegal?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But we will protect Americans. We will protect American families. We will protect these mothers of lost children who are murdered by illegal aliens. We will protect the widow of the trooper who was run down by an illegal alien and left a baby at home.
Let me stop you a second, General. I'm going to run out of time. Could it be that some of the people who are criticizing you, saying you're mean and otherwise for enforcing the law, believe that the board, we should have open borders. They believe that anyone should be able to come into and out of the United States whenever they want to. Could that be the motivation for that?
It could be, Senator.
Could it be that some of the people who are opposed to you think that by just allowing everybody to come into our country who wants to could help them in terms of winning elections? Could that be part of their motivation?
Well, Donald Trump won by an overwhelming majority. He won the electoral and the popular vote by an overwhelming majority, and he made it crystal clear to all Americans that he was going to close our borders and keep Americans safe. So they're running on the wrong platform.
That's what the law requires, right?
That's the law.
And you're just enforcing the law, is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
I will continue to.
You wouldn't expect regulators to soften their stance on rapid-fire weapons, but that's exactly what happened. On May 16th, the Department of Justice announced it was ending litigation over forced reset triggers, small, easily installed devices that let certain rifles fire almost as fast as a machine gun. For years, these devices have been a legal gray area. Under the Biden administration, they were classified as illegal machine guns. But in court, the Trump-era DOJ argued otherwise, citing the Supreme Court's ruling that bump stocks, a similar rapid-fire device, didn't meet the federal definition of a machine gun. This ruling reshaped the legal landscape, and the settlement sealed the shift. So what exactly does this settlement allow? Rare breed triggers, the main manufacturer, can now resume selling forced reset triggers for rifles. There's one catch. They can't sell them for pistols. The company also agreed to enforce its own patents and promote what the DOJ called responsible use. On paper, it's a compromise. No handgun triggers, no protracted legal battles, and a promise of self-policing by the manufacturer. But the DOJ didn't just agree to stop fighting. They framed the deal as a public safety measure. Attorney General Bondi said the settlement would end an unnecessary cycle of litigation and allow law enforcement to focus on other threats. She emphasized that the department believes the Second Amendment is not a second-class right, and that following the law as interpreted by the courts was the right path forward. From her perspective, it wasn't about loosening gun control, it was about aligning policy with legal precedent. Not everyone saw it that way. Gun control advocates reacted with outrage, warning that this decision effectively legalizes machine guns. To them, the compromise is a dangerous rollback of decades-old protections. One prominent critic argued, the Trump administration has just effectively legalized machine guns. Lives will be lost because of his actions. They see the ruling not as a neutral application of law, but as a green light for high-capacity, high-speed weapons to proliferate. It's not just individual advocates raising alarms. 16 states, led primarily by Democratic attorneys general, have filed lawsuits to block the settlement. Their argument is straightforward. Forced reset triggers blur the line between legal firearms and banned machine guns, creating a massive loophole in public safety law. They claim the DOJ is ignoring the spirit of the 1934 National Firearms Act and putting communities at greater risk of mass shootings. But the controversy goes deeper than legal definitions. At its core, this is a clash between two visions of governance. On one side, there's a strict textual reading of the law, where the DOJ follows the letter of court rulings even if the outcomes appear risky. On the other side, there's a functionalist view, where the law should adapt to technological realities and prioritize public safety over rigid interpretation. The forced reset trigger case is a perfect storm of these opposing philosophies. Thus, tension became even more visible in Senate oversight hearings. Senator Jack Reed pressed Bondi on how allowing these devices for rifles could possibly enhance public safety. He pointed out that automatic fire isn't about sport. It's about delivering maximum firepower in minimal time. His questions made it clear. The technology might not fit the outdated legal definition of a machine gun, but in practice, the danger is the same. Bondi stood her ground, repeating that the DOJ followed the law and would continue to do so. Critics argue that relying on laws written nearly a century ago is a recipe for disaster when modern firearm technology moves so much faster. They say it's like regulating self-driving cars using traffic laws from the 1920s. Technically possible, but practically reckless. Supporters counter that if the law needs to change, it's Congress's job to do it, not the DOJ's job to invent new interpretations. This back and forth reveals a deeper institutional problem. When legislators fail to update statutes, executive agencies are left navigating outdated rules in a modern world. The settlement also raises questions about the relationship between firearms policy and broader political agendas. For Bondi and her allies, emphasizing compliance with the courts is not just about legal correctness, it's also about signaling a commitment to constitutional rights. For opponents, the deal is a symbol of political favoritism toward the gun lobby. Both narratives feed into America's polarized climate, where gun policy debates rarely stay confined to questions of safety and legality, and the ripple effects don't stop at America's borders. Senator Reid also challenged Bondi on the southbound flow of U.S. firearms into Mexico, fueling cartel violence. Bondi responded by pointing to record domestic gun seizures and claiming the borders are now closed, shifting the focus back to immigration enforcement. But for critics, this was dodging the core issue: how to stop U.S.-made weapons from arming violent groups abroad. It's another example of how discussions about guns in America quickly branch into debates about border security, crime, and national identity. Beyond the legal and political theater, the forced reset trigger controversy forces us to face an uncomfortable reality. The law often lags behind technology, and when it does, it creates gaps that can have life and death consequences. In this case, a device that can mimic a machine gun's rate of fire slips through the cracks, not because lawmakers intended it, but because they haven't kept up. Whether that gap is exploited or closed depends on who holds power and how aggressively they act. In the coming months, lawsuits from the states will test whether the settlement holds. If the courts side with the DOJ, forced reset triggers for rifles could remain legal under federal law unless Congress steps in. If the states win, the devices could be banned again, reigniting another cycle of legal challenges. Either way, the decision will be framed as a major victory or defeat for one side of America's ongoing gun debate. And that's what makes this moment so pivotal. It's not just about one device or one settlement. It's about how the U.S. decides to handle rapidly evolving weapon technology in a system built on laws that don't evolve nearly as fast. Will we keep stretching old statutes to fit new realities? Or will we finally rewrite the rules to match the risks? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a legal story. It's a story about the balance between rights and responsibilities, about whether following the letter of the law is enough when lives are on the line. And it's about how decisions made in quiet legal settlements can echo far beyond the courtroom, shaping the future of public safety for years to come. If you want to stay ahead of these changes and understand the real stakes behind the headlines, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next deep dive.